All right, we're going to be talking about some stud level wide receivers here. I mean, a lot of these guys, they're going to cost you a decent penny, but at the same time, I think they're worth it. I think maybe they're even a little bit undervalued in today's fantasy football market. But before we get into it, go down there. Drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down there in the comment section. I'll try to answer as many as possible, but you know I will be live streaming tonight, so you can also come out to a live stream, get your question answered there. Last but not least, this video is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. On Underdog Fantasy, you can check out all these cool player props, and when you sign up and use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Quick side note, a couple of my favorite player props, which we have been on a roll over the past few weeks. DeAndre Hopkins, 69.5 yards. We may or may not be talking about him in this video. Kind of like the higher than. Also kind of like the higher than Ezekiel Elliott, 59.5 when he's going up against the Detroit Lions defense. We also be talking about a Dallas Cowboy wide receiver in this video. That should be it. Let's go through. Let's dive into it. And you know I got to do it, right? I have to talk about my most drafted wide receiver in fantasy this year. At one point, he was a top 5 option in fantasy football. I was calling the bank saying, hey, well, just to let you know, we got a big deposit coming in soon because we are going to be having a nice payday at the end of the year. Jaylen Waddle. With Waddle, definitely has slowed down since the top 5 start that he had through the first 3 weeks. And what happened? I think it is simple. Tua Tagovailoa, his starting quarterback, went down, and on top of this, he himself dealt with a groin injury. A groin injury and having Skylar Thompson as your starting quarterback, that double whammy, not gonna allow you to continue to be a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy, where during that 2-week stretch where you had no Tua Tagovailoa and you had the groin injury, you had Jaylen Waddle dropping down to 39 receiving yards, to 23 receiving yards, where outside of that, when Jaylen Waddle has been fully healthy, Jaylen Waddle has averaged over 100 receiving yards a game. Jaylen Waddle has been a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy. And I mean, you know, we have showed you this stat. God knows how much. This is why Jaylen Waddle is one of my most drafted players in fantasy football and my most drafted receiver in fantasy football this year. But Jaylen Waddle, if you look at his rookie season, look at the dominance that he had from a volume perspective and compare it to first round rookie wide receivers historically, Jaylen Waddle literally only compares to the greats. He only compares to guys like Evans, Chase, Jefferson, AJ Green, Julio Jones, like phenomenal wide receiver talents. We can safely say Jaylen Waddle is just that. You are getting Tua Tagovailoa back in. Tyreek Hill does look great. Tyreek Hill does look like he's the wide receiver 1 in Miami. But still, I think you can confidently project Jaylen Waddle as a top 10 wide receiver going forward and have no hesitations at all about it. If we could go and take someone like Courtland Sutton and a depth running back, or maybe Mike Williams and a depth running back or backup tight end, whatever it may be, and go move them for Jaylen Waddle, I would really love that. But now going over to our next guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, also a year 2 wide receiver. There are a couple things working in the favor of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Very similar to Jaylen Waddle, St. Brown dealing with the lower body injury, which did have him actually miss a game and on top of it, be very limited in the last week that he played against the New England Patriots. Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't even an every down wide receiver in that contest because the Detroit Lions got blown out, and in a blowout, you're not going to throw out a player that you rushed back from injury right before the bye week. So honestly, that game that he played against the New England Patriots, I feel like we can just throw that out the window, and we can look at the fact that Amon-Ra St. Brown in the first 3 weeks this season was averaging over 10 targets a game. If we include the rushing yards, he was averaging over 100 total yards a game as well. So if you look at the St. Brown profile and the continued dominance that we had from the end of last season, I think that he's an easy guy to buy low on, an easy guy to label as that top 10 wide receiver going forward. And what I really like with St. Brown as well is this is someone that's already gone through his bye week. I mean, there's some secret hidden value in trading for these players that have already gone through their bye, and that rest of season, you're going to be able to get them for that extra game. You're going to be able to look to start them every single week going forward. And with Jameson Williams, him coming back later on in the year is going to be definitely something we need to be on the lookout for. But I think Williams is going to help this Detroit Lions offense by stretching NFL defenses, by providing that speed. And at the same time, he's not going to take a ton of targets away from that slot wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. Well, let's go over to another guy that is also coming off a bye. So I think that you can go through trade for him and get that extra game, but maybe you don't get the extra game from Davante Adams because a lot of people right now are worried that Davante Adams is going to serve a suspension. Maybe a suspension's already been announced by the time this video comes out. I'm recording this on the 18th. So maybe by the time you're watching this, Davante Adams is suspended. Honestly, I don't really give a damn because if he is suspended, I think at the very most, it's one game. I would be shocked, and I repeat, shocked, if after we have seen the NFL give light suspensions to so many players with some serious things against them, that they go through and go, okay, well, Davante Adams, you pushed a guy at the end of the game. We are going to have to give you a 4-game suspension. You're out from. No, I think the NFL would look so damn bad if they did that. Also, hurt their ratings. Less people would want to be watching these ratings. They're not going to do that, okay? I think the very most, Davante Adams getting hit with a 1 to 2 game suspension. He's been averaging over 10 targets a game. Obviously, it's not like you're getting some massive discount on Davante Adams. The man this past week before the bye, he did drop like 25 points, 28 points, almost 30. So it's not like you're getting some massive discount on Davante Adams. I'm not telling you, oh yeah, let's go through, let's trade Jarvis Landry and Kareem Hunt and let's go get Davante. We know you're not going to be able to do that, but if you could trade for Davante Adams at just like a 10% discount, I think that would be very nice. Now going over to our next guy here, Chris Godwin. We've had Godwin on a lot of buy low wide receiver videos so far this season. I mean, I really like drafting Godwin coming into the season. Looks like he's fully healthy and looks like he's dominating targets in Tampa. This past week, 100%. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady, they did not look great. I know a lot of people are worried about Tom Brady in this offense. We talked about this in our panicking video early on in the week, where I'll agree with you. I think that Tom Brady is in a spot where he has looked significantly worse. And if you are a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, you should be worried about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their odds to actually make a deep playoff run this season. I think you should be worried about that. But for the people who don't care about that, for myself, for everybody who just cares about fantasy football, hell, you have exactly what you want in Tampa. You have an offense that's going to push the pace of play, that is going to throw the ball with aggression, that is going to try to continue to expand the career leader in passing yards in Tom Brady across the entire NFL. I mean, if you look at that leaderboard, it is hilarious how far ahead Tom Brady is from everybody else. They're still throwing the ball 50 plus times a game. Godwin in a down game this past week had 12 targets, 6 receptions, 95 receiving yards. He has now increased his receiving yards every single game so far this season. I like Godwin. I like the passing volume that will be available in Tampa. I think maybe if people are worried about Brady from a real life perspective and they don't separate their real life stances and their fantasy football stance, I think maybe we can get a discount on Godwin. Very similar. We'd look to trade Cortland Sutton. We'd look to trade Mike Williams for Chris Godwin. Now our next guy that we would trade those same wide receivers for, T. Higgins. With T. Higgins, I mean, Sunday morning, I went through, I put it out there on the line. We had so many people worried about starting T. Higgins because, hell, he only had one practice and that was on Friday. Obviously, Sunday night, T. Higgins gave everybody a whole lot of nothing given the injury. They just sat him out the entire game. And a lot of people were burned on Higgins a couple of weeks ago. And I put it on the line Sunday morning saying, you know what? Given the talent profile T. Higgins has, given the fact that I think this is a good Cincinnati Bengals offense that's going to continue to get better as the season goes on, T. Higgins is a must-start wide receiver. I don't give a damn about the injury. I know you may be worried. You got to put T. Higgins in your starting lineup, and if it doesn't work out, you can come blame me. If the guy you wanted to start, Kareem Hunt, outscores T. Higgins, you can come blame me in the video tonight. Thank God that Higgins did something, honestly, through the first half. It's looking very, very scary for us. But T. Higgins had 10 targets. He had 6 receptions. He had 47 receiving yards. I mean, it wasn't the best day ever, but keep in mind, dealing with the ankle injury at the same time, pretty tough matchup going up against the New Orleans Saints. I mean, I personally think if we look at every week outside of the Baltimore Ravens game and the Pittsburgh Steelers game, because if you don't remember week 1, remember T. Higgins left the beginning of the game there. So the statistics in that contest are going to be very skewed. If we just look at the Dallas, Jets, Miami, and the New Orleans Saints game, you have T. Higgins as a wide receiver that's, consistently a high-end wide receiver too in fantasy. He was phenomenal his second season. I still want to be betting on this Cincinnati Bengals offense. But you could go trade Courtland Sutton or Mike Williams for T. Higgins. I'm doing that in a heartbeat. But now our next guy, CeeDee Lamb. Super brief here. I just want to remind everyone, CeeDee Lamb is a locked and loaded mid-wide receiver 1 rest of season. CeeDee Lamb in a pretty bad situation with Cooper Rush as the starting quarterback so far this year has averaged 10 targets a game. You simply haven't had any passing volume at all in Dallas. I think Dak Prescott does come back in, and Dak Prescott is significantly better for this offense. And I will let you know right now is the only shot that you're going to have to buy anybody in Dallas. I'll also include Dalton Schultz on this list. Dalton Schultz, didn't love him coming into the season, but just looking at the massive discount you'd be getting, if you can get Dalton Schultz as a throw-in in any trade, I would like that as well, because I do expect that this Dallas Cowboys offense is going to be significantly better going forward. And the reason I'm saying the window is going to be shut very soon is they played the Detroit Lions this week. You're playing the Lions. We're expecting Dallas to drop 30 points on them. So if you wanted to go trade for CeeDee Lamb, if you wanted to go trade for Dak Prescott, if you wanted to go trade for Dalton Schultz, if you wanted to go trade for Ezekiel Elliott, this would be the only shot you were going to have. And like I said, please go check out the higher than 59.5 rushing yards for Ezekiel Elliott against the Dallas Cowboys this week on Underdog. Link in the description, link in the comment section, available in damn near every state. One of my favorite props this week, and we've been on a very, very hot streak with those props. But now going over to our next guy here, let's look at Michael Thomas. Do not trade for Michael Thomas right now. Michael Thomas, we are bamboozled. Shefty told us a couple weeks ago that Michael Thomas was supposed to be back in week 6. Well, I'm telling you right now, he's probably not playing week 7. He didn't practice on Monday. They're going up against the Cardinals on Thursday night. So Michael Thomas probably not going to practice again this week. I think what ends up happening is maybe Michael Thomas comes back week 8, week 9. So very similar to what we said in the video yesterday with the buy low running backs, where we are throwing Elijah Mitchell on the watch list and going to be sending out offers for Elijah Mitchell next week. We're going to do the same thing here with Michael Thomas. Don't try to trade for Michael Thomas now, but just make sure that we're reminding ourselves a week from now, if we can go get him as a high-end wide receiver 3, low-end wide receiver 2, I would like that price point. Now our last guy, I wanted to save him till the very end here because this is a wide receiver that's been on a buy low video for us every single week over the past month, it seems. DeAndre Hopkins, I just want to reiterate everyone. DeAndre Hopkins only 6 months older. 6 months older than Davante Adams. The man outside of this past season where he was dealing with an injury is someone that's consistently throughout his entire NFL career, regardless of the quarterback, regardless of the team, regardless of the situation, he's averaged 10 targets a game. He's coming back this week. Please, like I said, I even think the player prop on Underdog, 69.5 receiving yards, kind of intriguing there. I think he comes in, especially with no Hollywood Brown now, he commands 10 targets a game in this offense. He's an immediate wide receiver 1 upon return. Honestly, you should have listened to us and traded for him a couple weeks back. I think now that he is literally returning this week and we have the Hollywood injury, it's going to be significantly more difficult to trade for him. I just want to give you all an update because very similar to Breece Hall, how we've had him on a buy low video every single week for the entire year. So we kind of have to give Breece Hall updates now. I think the same thing with DeAndre Hopkins because based on the live streams we do every single night, it does seem like pretty much everybody who watches our videos has DeAndre Hopkins at this point. You should be excited about the Hollywood Brown injury for DeAndre Hopkins. But I think that should be it. Of course, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below in the comment section. If you want to go check out any of these player props, you can find the link to Underdog Fantasy in the live chat, in the comment section, in the description of the video. Use promo code FLOCK. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. And they're available in damn near every single state. Thank you again. I appreciate you. Hope you have a great day and hope we get to see you out with the video tomorrow.